This is Radio TV Phono Nut, and we have a Delco model R1410 AC and battery operated portable tube radio from about 1947. And this is one of the better ones with a 3-gang tuning condenser and an RF amplifier stage, so this one ought to be a pretty hot radio whenever it's working correctly. This thing has been here for the longest time, and whenever I first obtained it, I fired it up and it actually played quite well, and then I peeked under the chassis and it looks pretty much all original under there. So we're going to fire it up again and see how it does post anything being done to it, and then I'm probably going to only do the bare minimum to make this thing a little bit safer, as in possibly replacing the grid coupling cap for the audio output tube and the line bypass cap if it has one. Those seem to be the most crucial capacitors that fail in these old radios. And then we may just let it play and see how long it lasts.
Kickoff team, he's on the kickoff return team, and he...
Let's turn the light off here. Try to get rid of some of this noise. Alright, that's 670 coming in. That station's very hard to get, especially with all the noise.
He can just back kick it in.
That's probably that talk station out of Jackson, Mississippi.
My thoughts, then your...
We won 9 or 10 games every single season.
Okay.
Buddha.
He's not...
We're hoping he'll go to the next level. We're hoping he will play.
What's your last name, Judge? Moore. Okay. Yeah, y'all got some really outstanding players.
So this one could just about fall under that category that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And here's a look under the chassis. And it appears that everything in here is factory fresh. I don't see anything right off the bat that stands out to me as having been replaced at some time. Even have an old selenium rectifier there, and a very early disc capacitor there. That's probably the plate bypass cap for the audio output tube. And looking at the tubes, these two are original Delco. That one is Delco. That one is Delco. And that one is Delco, so we're playing with a full set of original tubes here. And this switch here, this is your AC battery changeover switch. It's a momentary switch, and the way you hold it in the battery position is insert the power plug in that slot there, and then that holds it in the battery position. I think this one runs off of a battery pack that's probably probably 9 volts, because I think they had the tubes in series, which is preferable, less current draw when the tubes are in series. So yeah, probably 9 volts for the filament and 90 volts for the B+. Let's see what it says in the back of the radio. Well, they don't give you the battery voltage rating, but judging from the tube lineup, 1U4 RF amp, 1R5 converter, at least it doesn't have that expensive 1L6 in it, another 1U4 IF amp, 1U5 detector and first audio, and 3V4 audio output. Now I think the 3V4 has a center tapped filament, so you can operate it on either 1.5 volts or 3 volts. So if they're using if they have the tube wired to operate on 3 volts, this would take a 9 volt battery. If they have it wired to operate on 1.5 volts, then it would take a 7.5 volt battery. But I will go look up the schematic for this a little later and see what this takes. Not that I'm ever going to run it on batteries, but you never know, I might. Alright, I have an old speaker connected just to provide a load on the output stage. I do not have the antenna connected, so it's not going to play at the moment. Alright, let's see what our B plus is coming off the rectifier. 110 volts. That's probably about right. Alright, I believe pin 6 is the control grid pin of the audio output tube. Let's see what we have there. .428, so that's a little bit positive, but not as bad as it could be. Probably do need to trace out that capacitor and change it just to be on the safe side. Alright, I pulled the audio output tube. Since this is a series wired set, we can do that. And since it has a selenium rectifier, our power supply will come up. If this was a parallel wired filament circuit, I wouldn't advise pulling a tube out, because that's going to pull some of the load off of the filament supply, which could increase the voltage to your other remaining tube filaments, which could blow the tubes out. Now I want to check the control grid voltage with that tube removed, and we're getting negative 0.6 volts. So that capacitor may not be bad. Alright, here's the rider schematic. It's in volume 19, and the capacitors of interest is this one across the AC line. Those like to go snap, crackle, pop. That's number 25. And then we have this capacitor across the primary of the output transformer. That's number 22. That's of concern. And then we have number 21. That's the grid coupling capacitor, which is a .001. I was having problems finding that grid coupling capacitor in the radio, so let's look here and see where it might be located, or what kind of capacitor it is. Here's the parts list, so we're looking for numbers 21, 22, and 25. And let the plane get over while the camera focuses. Okay, so 21, that is a .001 microfarad ceramic, so no need for alarm there. And the plate bypass capacitor 22 is a .005 ceramic, so no need for alarm there. Now the across the line capacitor, that's a standard tubular capacitor, so we might want to go ahead and change that just to be on the safe side. But I'm probably not going to do much to this radio. We're just going to touch up the alignment and see how long it goes. Alright, here's the new line bypass capacitor, and I had to J-hook it in place because I mistakenly ordered the wrong caps that have the short leads on them. In fact, I had to J-hook it twice. I J-hooked our original cap lead up here, and then the lead wasn't long enough to reach over here, so I had to put another piece of wire between here and here, and then I ended up cutting my wire a little too short, so this is just tack soldered on. It's not the way you're supposed to do it, but this is only temporary anyway. One day I probably will get around to overhauling this, but it's not going to be today, tomorrow, next week, or likely next month. Frankly, I don't really care to work on these three-way portable radios because they're so packed up. You know, there's more in them than a conventional AC operated radio, which means more capacitors and more of a rat's nest to deal with. So with that said, let's check this original capacitor and see how leaky it is. Alright, let's see. That's 50 volts, and you can see it flashing pretty good there. So yeah, that capacitor's leaky. And I anticipate all the rest of them to be of similar leakage, but the radio's working, and like I said, I'm not really in the mood to do a restoration on this today. I just want to, it plays relatively well as it is. The plate bypass and grid coupling capacitor are both ceramic disc, which 1947 is pretty early for that. And we're just going to put it back together, probably touch up the alignment a little bit, and just see how it goes. Alright, I have the signal generator connected and the battery is about to die. Alright, flash back to the old camera while the battery charges on the other one. We have the radio set to the top end of the dial as per the instructions. We have the signal generator tuned to 262 kilocycles, and we have the signal generator coupled into the tuning condenser via a small value disc capacitor. They say 250 picofarad in the instructions, but I really don't think it's that critical. We're going to let it warm up for about 20 minutes, let everything stabilize, and then we're going to peak out each one of these tremors in the IF transformers. Alright, I think we've had sufficient time to warm up, so let's see what happens. Yeah, that was a little off. Alright, let's turn our signal generator output down. Keep our output as low as possible to prevent AVC action. Alright, that's that one. Turn our output down some more and do this one. Now we're going to go back through this and try to peak them out for maximum one more time. Alright, there we go. We now have our IF transformers peaked at maximum. Well, just doing an IF alignment increased the sensitivity enough to where 1490, the little country station from Neshoba County, is coming in. And that's better than on some radios I have. Well, it should be, because this has an RF stage. That's the talk station out of Jackson. That's something else very faint that I don't know what it is. That's something else with a lot of interference. Let's see if that's the camera doing that. Yep, that's the camera, because whenever I turned it off, the squealing went away. That's something else so faint that I'm really not discernible. And that's 670. So yeah, tweaking those IF tremors woke it up considerably. And now they want us to adjust the signal generator to 1.615 megacycles or 1615 kilocycles, and then set the receiver to the top end of the dial and peak out this center tremor on the tuning condenser for maximum. And I'm just radiating a signal through this lead on the loop antenna by just clipping the signal generator clip lead to the insulation on the loop antenna wire here. Alright, what did I do with my screwdriver? So we can turn this little center trimmer here. Alright, let's see where we are, and I'm going to try to take note of this, so in case there's no improvement noted, I can set it back to where it was. Well, can I even get in here and turn this? I'm going to have to do this off camera because I'm going to have to hold the chassis to keep it from sliding out away. Alright, we got it. It was just off a little bit. Now they want us to set it to 1400 and peak out this trimmer right here. Yeah, my little grunded yacht boy makes a convenient tool for getting the signal generator right on frequency. And yes, my signal generator needs to be calibrated. Alright, that's not making much difference. We're going to leave it about where it was. Now we need to set everything to 600 and adjust G, that trimmer right there. That adjusts the low end of the dial tracking. Alright, this is where it gets a little interesting. Normally, well, many times they'll have little markings on the dial that will designate your alignment frequencies. Or let me rephrase that, markings on the dial pointer backplane that the pointer rides on, since obviously when you have the radio chassis removed and the dial is in the cabinet, then you have no idea what frequency you're on. Well, they want us to set the radio to 600. You can't very well do that because there's no markings on the backplane to let us know where the pointer is. We don't even know if the pointer is aligned properly on the dial itself. So all we can do is put the chassis back in the cabinet, and the pointer looks like it's about right, and then we set it to about 600 here, and then we'll do our alignment. Really a pain in the butt doing it that way. They should have put the little tick marks on the back plane on the dial, and that way you'd know where you were. Normally there's a tick mark at the very bottom of the scale and one at the top of the scale. That's to help align the dial pointer. And then there's other tick marks at the other frequencies that they want you to use, but they didn't find that to be important on this radio apparently. Now, oftentimes on sets that don't have the little tick marks on the dial, they'll tell you that you need to align the radio with it installed in the cabinet and connected to the loop antenna. And in such cases as that, they usually have like a little plugs on the cabinet that you can pop out that will allow the insertion of an alignment tool to get to the trimmers that you need to adjust. But this set doesn't even have that. And on this one with the chassis installed, I can get to everything except this trimmer back here on the front of the tuning condenser, and there's a coil back here that I can't get to, but maybe I can slide the chassis out enough to get to that. Well, that's 670 coming in on the wrong dial position, but it's coming in very strong here, and that is very impressive. And we got a cat coming to see us. Alright, we're back on the good camera, and I think the cat just EOL'd a bird or come pretty close to it. I would have caught it on film, but I was running out of memory on the other camera. And she decided, when she rubbing all over me, and then she took off towards the back of my building, and was being real sneaky like. And then all of a sudden I heard her pounce and hit the tin that I've got attached to the back chain link fence. And I heard what sounded like a bird's distress sound, and then she disappeared. So went back there looking for her, and I heard her meow, but I couldn't see her. So I guess she's back there behind the fence having lunch. I'm going to sit out here a minute and see if she'll come back out. Alright, I'm redoing everything, starting with the 1.615 adjustment. Now we'll move to 1400. Well, I think this pointer is off because it's 670. When I set the dial to about 670 and adjust this oscillator slug to get the calibration right, I can get the calibration right, but then I lose sensitivity, and that's not right. So I set the dial back to 700 on the scale and adjusted this trimmer to get our maximum sensitivity back, and I'm trying to move this pointer down, and it seems to be stuck. I'm not going to fight with this thing. I'm not going to risk breaking this dial string to try to move this pointer. If the dial is off, the accuracy is off, so what? I don't care. I'm more interested in sensitivity than I am the dial being spot on and me possibly having to restring a dial cord from breaking this thing. Alright, it's about 4 in the afternoon. I tweaked the rear trimmer. Well, I set the radio to a weak station on the high end of the dial and tweaked the rear trimmer on the condenser for maximum output. Still got 670 coming in pretty good. That's local. That's probably 940 WCPC out of Houston, Mississippi.
He's in a sense, but it's also in here. Never had a...
That's something that's so weak I can't make it out. Sounds like possibly black gospel, but I don't know.
1 gallon of cheap New Zealand Chardonnay.
That's probably the talk station out of Jackson.
And he plans on vengeance. It takes him 2 years, but he finally gets...
Not as talented. Before he takes you away, please let me...
That's the country station in Neshoba County. It's coming in really well, very impressive. In fact, this may become the shop radio for listening to that station on. And
good to have you tuned in on this Sunday, Patriot Day. NASCAR racing, and all got started Friday night. John.
Of course, if I use this as a shop radio, we're going to have to find an alternate source of lighting, because when I turn on the fluorescent light, and that's pretty impressive that I can still hear the station over the fluorescent light noise.
Maybe leaving Joe Gibbs Racing after 15 years and headed over.
And when I put my hand on the back of the radio,
how that works out next year. That's the rumors. Hopefully an announcement maybe on Tuesday, but we'll figure that out.
And that inductively couples
Kansas, everybody packs up and heads the action.
Capacitively couples a signal into the loop antenna. I mean, if it wasn't for the atmospheric noise, this would be coming in really well. All the atmospheric noise and the electrical noise from everywhere.
Good as you would like.
Now remember, the dial is not going to be accurate on this because the pointer is off and the pointer is being non-cooperative as far as moving, and like I said, I'm not going to risk breaking that dial string trying to move that pointer. I hate restringing dials. I hate it with a passion. In fact, there have been times when I've left a radio at the flea market or left one on eBay for somebody else whenever I discovered that the dial string was broken, or the seller mentioned that the dial string was broken. That's just one thing about radio repair that I absolutely hate doing. I believe that's Clint Black from about 1989, 1990, something like that. I actually have that on vinyl, on LP. Got it from the radio station when they were having a record purge in the early 2000s, and I think 1989 was the last year of that particular station. Well, that's cute. My straw on my contact cleaner was getting overly friendly with my bulb and melted to the light bulb. Well, that's okay. I've got another one, and that can's about empty anyhow. But anyway, yeah, I think it was about 89 was the last year that they played vinyl at the country station here, the FM country station. I think the only vinyl they might have played from about 90 to 92 was the country countdowns that were delivered on LPs, but other than that, everything by that point was digital. In fact, I think they were one of the first stations in the area to go all digital, as in no records, no reel-to-reel tape, no cassettes, no carts. Everything was from a computer.
And it essentially burnt. They use the words, but they don't know what they...
Maybe a little later I can get the oldies station out of Tuscaloosa. They usually come in around 6:30 or 7, just before the station decreases to nighttime power, and then of course I can't get it at all then.
They can't afford that, so instead, they're going to attack. 1:09 and 9:10 a.m.
So basically I did nothing to this radio but touch up the alignment. I did hack in a new across the line capacitor because those are so bad about blowing up. I didn't change the selenium rectifier. I didn't change the electrolytic filter can. It's running cool. I didn't change anything but that one cap. And we're just going to leave it at that. Would it probably sound a little better and perform a little better with a full recap? Yes, probably so, but I can't complain about the performance of this radio as it is. So we're not going to worry about it. And like I said, that crucial plate bypass cap and the plate to grid coupling cap for the audio output tube are both ceramic disc, and those rarely fail. In fact, I don't replace those unless they are proven bad, and about the only time I've ran into a bad one is in the high voltage circuit in a television, and generally when they go bad in there, they arc and burn and short and smoke and blow up other things.
2008, he didn't even make it past the Iowa caucuses.
Alright, I'm going to kill it for now, and
With their low approval of Joe Biden, are saying, hey,
we will come back down after dark and do a band scan and see how well this thing will shine after dark when all of the DX is coming in. Well, I figured the cat might be out here. Sometimes when I come out, she's laying on the ramp going up into my building, but I don't see her anywhere. I guess she, after EOLing the bird and having it for lunch, I guess she went and took a nap somewhere. Now, let me be clear, because I don't think I made myself too clear before. When it comes to alignment, technically the first thing you should do is make sure the dial pointer is accurate the way it's supposed to be. On some radios, the dial comes out with the chassis itself, so it's really not a big deal on those kind of sets. On other radios, the dial scale stays with the cabinet, and in such cases you better hope that they were nice enough to put the little tick marks on the metal track that the dial pointer rides on. Like I think I've already said, usually there's a tick mark at the bottom of the scale and a tick mark at the top of the scale to indicate where the dial pointer is supposed to start and end. And then there's various tick marks along the scale for the various frequencies that they want you to set the dial to during the alignment procedure. However, this set didn't appear to have those tick marks. Now, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that those tick marks might have been painted on or inked on at some point in time, and over the period of 75 years the ink might have faded into oblivion. But there are no alignment tick marks on this radio dial plane, which makes it a lot harder to align because you have to slide the chassis back in the box to get everything lined up. And like I said, I did not line this pointer up because it was being difficult and I didn't want to risk breaking the dial string. Whenever I actually set the dial to, for example, 670 and align that slug in there for proper tracking at 670, I lost sensitivity. So we put the dial pointer back at 700 and adjusted the slug appropriately and got our sensitivity back. The radio seems to be about as sensitive as it's capable of being. Like I've said, I'm really surprised at how hot this thing is. It's just the dial accuracy is a bit off because of the dial pointer, and if I do a full-blown restoration on this one day, then I might take care of that, but not today. Alright, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening. We're going to fire up everything again, turn on our incandescent bulb, turn off the fluorescent noise maker. We're going to plug the radio in and do a brief band scan to see what we can receive. I'm mainly interested to see if we can get our oldies station out of Tuscaloosa. The True Oldies channel.
They can't. If you want a federal trademark registration, you have to be doing business in interstate commerce.
So I think the takeaway is
At the FBI is Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah, we got some thunderstorms in the area, so that may put a damper on our DX abilities right now.
I'm not there yet.
Well, you'll be there. You'll be there someday, but she'll be out of debt by the time you're there.
And tougher path to the Fall Classic than the Mets?
Yes, I believe that.
I don't know what happened to this volume knob. As you can see, it has a hole in the center.
They can beat any team in the postseason.
I don't know what kind of mishap caused that.
Because when you run out of the ground
And it's interesting, this is a Delco radio, and the dial scale sort of resembles the dial on some of the 1940s car radios. We're getting some DX, but not my oldies station.
Ink.
That may be WBAF out of Mobile. There's a country station, but that's not ours. That one in Neshoba County is probably off the air by now.
Go ahead, George.
Oh, for sure. But, of different places. And there's no easy way to say.
And by the way, the 262 kilocycle IF frequency was very common for car radios. Made them more selective. I don't know what this is, but I don't think it's our oldest station.
And spends a lot of time in Washington coaching and
there it is. Deep Purple. Well, I got my hand on the back of it to increase sensitivity. Yeah, if we had this station local, I would not be so negative about AM radio all the time.
Now, here's another one-hit wonder. It was one and done on the True Oldies channel.
Well, where, oh, where can my baby be?
Yeah, it's getting so it's hard to find radio stations that play music from the 50s and 60s anymore. If you find one that plays music from the 60s, it's usually maybe a dozen songs from the later 60s, and that's about it. But I'm finding that a lot of so-called classic hit stations are even dumping a lot of the 70s. They're focusing on 80s and 90s music, and they blame that on shifting demographics. Like they think younger people are not interested in listening to older music. I mean, back in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, I was a preteen and into my early teenage years, and that's pretty much all I listened to was oldies from the 50s and 60s. And back then, about 1970, 71 was the cutoff for most oldie stations. Anything newer than about 71, 72 or so, that was still in rotation on the contemporary hit radio stations. But yeah, we're going to stop this for a while, and I'm going to enjoy this while it lasts.
Even though I hold her tight, I lost my love, my life that night. Well,
label peaked at number 12, also February of 1955. And we started the show off with one of the hundreds, maybe thousands of the classic Richard Berry penned Louie Louie. Those are the Sandpipers. Number 30 on the charts in October of 1966, and the classic, The Kingsmen. Number 2 on the pop charts, top of the R&B charts, Wand record label, late 1963. How Important Can It Be was written by Benny Benjamin and George Weiss. At her succession. The single was released in 1955 and stayed 16 weeks.
That's only a Hi, I'm Lisa Asclepian. Private search engine. Networking.
Thanks so much. Let's get you caught up around the majors. This time with the focus on the American League, where the...
If we look at
Serbia is undefeated in the group play.
No, mentoring as twins.
Looks like love to me.
You need to listen. Right here.
I was right on Baker. Most of you were wrong. It's okay.
By free will. The problem, and they never wanted to see him again, and that's exactly what happened.
I don't know what this is. They just identified themselves as 104.9. So obviously another station where the AM side has a translator and they're going by the FM frequency. That's the oldest station out of Tuscaloosa again. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, you don't have to be 70 years old to enjoy older music, but radio stations often have dropped the older music because they claim that the older music does not reach the demographic that they want to reach, which is the 15 to 45 age group, or 20 to 50 or whatever, I don't know, but it's like the people over 50 don't exist in the eyes of the radio programmers because they claim that the people over 50 are generally set in their ways, and you know they're not going to change as far as products that they buy and services that they utilize. So that's the reason they claim they don't play the older stuff anymore, because you know it doesn't reach the demographic that they want to reach. But like I said, I think there are a lot of young people that enjoy the older music from the 50s, 60s, and early to mid 70s. I know I did whenever I was a preteen and early teenage years and into high school, and even to this day I couldn't tell you who is popular on the current pop charts, country charts, or anything like that, and quite frankly I don't care, because what little bit of it I've heard from scanning across the dial, none of it does anything for me anyway. And this station here out of Tuscaloosa, they've got an FM translator too. And they've been oldies for a number of years now, and I suspect the FM translator is the only reason they're keeping the oldies format. Evidently they have enough of a demographic to support it. Whereas where I am, I'm afraid that I don't know that there'd be enough of a demographic to support it. Now your mumble rap and your black gospel and your tractor rap, yeah, there's enough people around here to support those kind of stations. In fact, I suspect that if the FCC ever told the AM stations that you can turn your AM off and keep your FM translator, you would see a lot of AMs going silent, unless it was a case where the AM station had a further reach than the FM translator has. Alright, here it is on the Grundig Yacht Boy. And I think it's actually coming in better on the old Delco. Well, now it's going to fade out, I guess. Okay, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I want to come back later after dark and do a band scan and see how this does. It's a little after 7 p.m. We're up on the patio. And that's WJRD that we were listening to earlier. I was doing some reading and they switched to the current oldies format in December 2008, so about almost 14 years, which in today's world that's a pretty good bit of time for a station to stick with a single format. It seems like now they change formats about as often as they change their underwear, and usually a call sign change goes along with it too. And now they're fading off into oblivion.
And a good job. Our marriage.
Whether we were
Rating and touchdown. Point the finger at the
I think that country station's out of Monroe, Louisiana, but it's not really quite late enough to be getting any serious DX. But yeah, we're going to have to stay around long enough to at least get WSM 650 and the Black Lives Matter station 1280 out of New Orleans. And that light you see is not a dial light, it's the reflection off of my carport light on the dial scale here. Well, there's WSM coming in a little bit, so we've accomplished part of our mission. Now this is WAKM, that's a new one on me. I'm going to have to look that up and see where they are, but they claim they've been around since 1953. Okay, WAKM 950 is out of Franklin, Tennessee. They run a country music format, 5,000 watts day, 75 watts at night. So that's one of those rare catches that may never happen again.
Benefits Management Group, 485-0.
Good job.
If you want to show off your favorite player's jersey, you follow from college to the NFL, or your favorite Cowboys jersey, or any NFL collectible, or even that signed flag from your favorite golf tournament.
Trying to find a good spot that has the least amount of noise. Yeah, that's WSM playing a little Tony Joe White. Come here. Yeah, the cat is back. I guess it digested the bird, so here it is. Alright, where'd you go? Well, it went somewhere. Don't know where it went. Oh, there it comes. There it comes. Maybe it don't like the radio playing. Maybe that's what it is. Alright, come on. Is this WSM?
650 AM WSM.
Yep, that's it.
Produced by our guest tonight, host one.
You decide when you want to move according to your schedule and your terms. Go to Chris.
Okay, we found it.
The Black Information Network's ground has more.
A new ad by a pro-Oz group highlights an incident where Fetterman pulled a gun in a breach chamber. Also report that Fetterman's press secretary, Amelia Witter Rowland, made insensitive remarks on social media about blacks and Indians.
Oh, insensitive remarks. Ooh. Alright, here we are down in the building again, and I think the reception's a little better down here than it is up there on the patio. So we're going to do one final band scan, start at the bottom, and work our way up.
Would you catch fish-wise? Did you catch your crappie? Such as enhanced odds boost on the biggest events to let you get more.
And that it was Americans, quote, who waged the attack after being radicalized by Donald Trump.
I think that's WSM, and the dial pointer should be about right there instead of right there.
Doing something quietly in New York. Those two things don't...
Making more or something, that I wanted it to be a little firmer. You can't do this with your regular bed.
Before she began her work.
Your future educational success, your career earnings. How you do?
Whether you like it or not.
Yes, whether you like it or not.
Wow.
There is no
Really nutritious options available in
It's up to 36,000. And they ended up buying.
It read, Inferences, Uncertainties, and Limitations. Given the admitted uncertainties expressed in the subject.
260-8555 or visit sickbets.com. That's sickbets.com.
Ryan Ratch and Mike Bollinger, they grace your broadcast booth at AT&T Stadium. For all the jobs you do,
General Motors over the next 24 months is
That's our 910. Alright, we may have to stop a minute to see what this is.
John of Classic Country. It's Mike Tyler winding down the weekend. They did a new road sign survey, and the folks at My Vision Passport did this, and they talked to over 1,000 people with driver's license on them, and they asked them if they could identify traffic signs.
Well, it's some classic country station.
Mosquitoes transmit malaria.
That's our 1010.
In Great Britain,
So he's been going.
Mission, comedy, and more.
They come with 1 year warranty. That's 30 days. Money back guarantee. Again,
It did not reflect the outcome.
nothing is more capable of.
You can listen on demand at westwoodlawnsports.com.
I remember the summer.
That's probably Baton Rouge, 1260, I think.
Volunteers, and our task is to create outreach for the research site. So there's one.
Wow, the kingdom's going to come before everybody in this audience.
1390.
Good food involved. I was thinking that. With NFL Sunday.
1450.
Safety information, subscription required, refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic?
Can there support too?
So there you go. For the most part, it's station after station. So this radio is performing very well. So there you go. And this will be kind of like Shango's recent Packard Bell TV experiment. If something goes wrong with this radio, then you'll probably see a video on it. If it continues to perform the way it does, then you probably won't see a video on it.
1530, Cincinnati Sports Station.
Just don't have that. Oh.
Now, it is gone! Area free.
Babe Blakely, a representative for a research
to try and hold them to another.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No.
I'm surprised I'm not finding WDIA, or maybe I am and just overlooking it.
A free indoor
See video and
This is a top.
Most shared and most listened to podcasts on the free iHeartRadio app. This is Sunday Podcast.
iHeartRadio.
Knight, the Executive Director for the Food Bank Council of Michigan, and I'm with my board chair, co-host, and the president.
Tranquilizer knocked her out for an hour. Oh my gosh.
creating this tutoring. Oh, Jen, thank you so much for taking the shotgun snap. Pressure responding to any property damage needs. Visit GoBlueSky.com or call 331-CLEANUP.
Alongside Ron Cooper, Sox has been with you. We're coming to you live all season long from the Wintrust Cubs radio broadcast booth here at Wrigley Field, getting set for the top half of the...
That's WSM. Well, I think that's about all I've got for you. So basically all we did to this was touch up the alignment and replace that line bypass capacitor just as a precaution. As leaky as the other one was, I feel like it would have blown up sooner rather than later, so best to go ahead and get rid of it. Electrolytic filter is original. The selenium rectifier is original. Everything is original except that one capacitor.